Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The House with a Clock in Its Walls. And I remember seeing the trailer for this and feeling a lot of comparisons, like, oh, it has Jack Black in it, it's like Goosebumps that came out before, even though there's another Goosebumps movie coming out like next month, really close to this, and I'm a huge fan of Jack Black, so I was super excited when I saw this trailer and it seemed like he was having a ball in this film, and Kate Blanchett seemed great as well in the trailers. And this film is based off of a set of books for children, and it's like Goosebumps, where it's like a spooky thing for children. And this is directed by Eli Roth, who's mostly known for extremely violent and very grotesque horror films, and then also Death Wish that came out this year. So I was a little iffy on who was directing this film and who had like their hands on it, but I thought it could be a really cool premise. And honestly, this movie was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I actually saw this in IMAX so that I could see Thriller beforehand last weekend, and that was pretty cool. It was a really cool experience. Unfortunately, that's over, but I really got to have fun with that. But looking at this film, how Eli Roth directs it, he does a really good job of building some decent, like, spooky, unsettling suspense in quite a bit of the film. And in terms of pacing, most of the film feels very quick and is like moving in a good pace. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, but some particular scenes in this film don't really hit as well as I would have liked, and they have a lot to do with Lewis, our main character, going to school and stuff like that. But especially when Jack Black and Kate Blanchett are on screen, you're like, I wish I could get more out of them, and I wish that we were sitting here a little bit longer to spend some time with these characters. But in terms of like storytelling, I think this film does a good job of slowly peeling back the layers, what's going on in the story, having some nice twists and reveals in it, and the film sells it very well. In terms of this emotionally hitting, there's some actually really good emotionally resonant scenes. Some of them don't work as well because of one actor's particular acting, and I'll also talk about that in a bit. But in terms of overall, this film does hit on emotionally where it's trying to. And for a kids movie that isn't like Pixar, honestly, I think this was really accomplished for being able to do that. In terms of tone, I feel like this film at points doesn't handle being able to balance this spookier aspects, mostly for the adults in the room, versus some of the stuff that you can tell is specifically just for children. And Eric Kripke, who wrote this screenplay for this film, it's a very interesting story, and you definitely feel engaged in trying to figure out the mystery of what's going on, where the hell's this clock, what's it doing, and there's some fun twists and turns like I mentioned. But in terms of like the actual writing, the dialogue, some of it's really funny and really clever and really sold by the actors, but a lot of it, they really hit low-hanging fruit in terms of trying to make this too much for kids. And I know this is supposed to be a kids movie, but I guess the potential in this to be something a lot more than that made me feel like, why do we have to keep having all these poop jokes? The first time it was actually kind of funny, but then they have a reoccurring poop joke, and it's just like, alright, we get it, just move along. But in terms of this film, the dialogue works a lot of the time, and it is very exposition heavy, and they do, I feel like, make a decent effort to make it not feel as like, I'm just hammering things over you after a while. And in terms of the actual beats of the plot, overall I thought that the tension was high and the suspense was real up towards the end of the film, where some of the danger feels very Kid Danger-esque, where it's like, ooh, I'm freaking out, but like as an adult it's like that wouldn't really be that scary, but like because it's a kids movie, freak out about it. And there's some weird choices towards the very end of the film with one particular character and what happens to them, and it was just weird and unsettling, and I kind of wish that I never saw it. But in terms of like the backstory and the themes of what some of these characters have to deal with, it is really deep. and actually impactful and thematic, especially with our two adult leads with Jack Black and Kate Blanchett's Uncle Jonathan and Mrs. Zimmerman. They have some baggage, and they have nice connections towards like the antagonists of this film, and they do a really good job of building up to this character showing up. And I feel like they do a really good job of fleshing out those characters and making them feel meaningful. And I feel like where this film is lacking is when you deal with the kid, who's supposed to be our main character, Lewis. And I feel like if they repurposed this and made this just about Jonathan and Florence Zimmerman, I felt like this film could be a lot more than it was. And the sad thing is, I feel like the Lewis storyline kind of dragged the film down, which is unfortunate because that's supposed to be the focal point of the film. And in terms of some of the other things, the music I really enjoyed. It was creepy, it was really well done, and it really helped build that like spooky Halloween vibe that this film's supposed to have. And whenever you have a score that really builds the themes and the tone of the film, that's when it's really doing its job. And it does in this film. Nathan Barr did a really good job of composing this. And then Roger Stouffer's, whose cinematography, this is a really good looking film. And especially for the most part, the special effects and the CGI for such a low budgeted film, it really works. And I really appreciate that about this film. And overall, how it's shot, the camera work, they use it very well in camera movements. They show like little reveals, they show little details in the background, and it was inspired. And I can appreciate that in a kids movie, especially when they really tried to commit to doing something more artful and something that you can really appreciate in terms of the technical aspects of the film. And the cast, Jack Black steals this show. He is amazing, he's so funny, the way he delivers his lines, but then he also honestly really shows some emotional impact as well when he has to in certain scenes. And really, Jack Black's the star of this film in my opinion. And then Kate Blanchett as Mrs. Zimmerman brings so much to the film, and she really sells her emotional beats in the film, and she's a lot of fun too, and she's quirky and she has a lot of fun. And the chemistry between her and Jack Black is off the charts in this film, and you really kind of wish that they really focused on that. And then you have Owen Vaccaro, which I don't like talking about too much, like kid performances, like they're kids. He wasn't very good in this film. There's parts where he's supposed to be crying and sad, and it felt so forced and bad that honestly it didn't really help with the emotional impact of the scene, and the other actors had to carry it, and that's not good. And maybe that helped with his scenes in school, and like him dealing with his issues of being a kid at school and not making friends. They didn't feel really as interesting as the rest of the film. Kyle MacLachlan does a really good job of just hamming it up as Isaac Izzard, who is our antagonist in this film. And when he finally shows up, he's hamming it up. And there's no like dimensions to his character though, which but like he has a very interesting motivation for doing what he's doing, and I thought it was pretty mature motivation for a film like this. It's like he's seen some stuff, but he's really fun. And then Sonny Soljic, who's Tarby, who's like the kid that Lewis wants to be friends with at school, he wasn't great either. The child acting in this film wasn't very good, and I'm hoping that he does a lot better in mid-90s, that Jonah Hill directed film. But overall, this, I could really nitpick if I really wanted to about this film, but I don't want to. This film was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely would own it and watch it again. It's just a matter of, if this was repurposed, it could have been a much different and better film if it was more adult focused, because there's some really dark aspects of this film, and they do it in a really good job and make it spooky. It's just a lot of the kids stuff kind of brings down the film. So I don't know how effective this is as a kids movie. I'm sure kids will enjoy it. They'll be creeped out on some level, and I enjoyed it too. So honestly, you can find enjoyment at any age level. Please go check out The Clock with a, keep getting this title mixed up, The House with a Clock in Its Walls. And thank you as always for checking in with your Wasteland reviewer, and comment and let me know what you think. Let's talk movies.